Welcome back. For my next guest, growing up multiracial often made him feel alone. But he's found, he says, community in other people with multiracial identities and is passing on his pride to the next generation.
My name's Thomas Lopez, and I identify as multiracial, Mexican, German, and Polish. My identity gives me a different perspective. They want to try and put you into a box or try to maybe get you to pick sides, which is hard. And I think that's when people really started asking, what are you? I really learned to appreciate my multiracial identity more than ever as I've gotten older. And I am passing on my multiracial identity to my children.
My name is Sonrisa Lopez. I am not embarrassed of my mixed heritage. As an 18-year-old, my identity is still forming, and so I need to learn to be confident in myself and how I choose to look, how I choose to present, how I choose to represent my community.
Thomas and his daughter, Sonrisa, joined us from their home in California. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tamron. Good to be here.
Thomas, listen, we're just having this conversation on my show, but you've been having this for years. I know that you've talked about it in college, and since you graduated, a lot has changed. In the 90s, it was one of the issues that you championed. In the 90s, you were only allowed to select one race, and the options were limited. Now, in the 2000s, they've changed the forms so that people can select more than one. But Latino was not included on the list. Today, it's still acknowledged as ethnicity on federal forms. So you've been fighting this past conversations in the home. You're looking at it as a federal issue. Why is it so key to acknowledge it on these forms?
So the forms, the data that's collected is used in many different ways. It's not just the census. The categories that are set by the federal government trickle down to all levels of government. And so it's involved education, criminal justice, labor statistics, et cetera, the enforcement of civil rights legislation. So how people fill out these forms, yeah, they're very personal. You're talking about how a person identifies themselves, but they also have implications in how money is spent, how voting districts are drawn, how civil rights are enforced. And so it really touches every aspect of our lives beyond just ourselves.
You know, and that is what's so powerful. A lot of people think this is a conversation about, okay, someone asking you inappropriately, what are you? But it does have an impact, to your point, on voting districts, on school funding, so many things that impact all of our lives every day. Sonrisa, you are 18 years old. Of course, people have asked you the question about your identity, and many have guessed it incorrectly. What are those moments like for you?
Awkward, first and foremost, but you just have to get through it because it's not going to be the last time. I am very young. This is going to go on for my whole life. I just have to deal with it. At the end of the day, it's easier to handle. It's easier for me to brush off. I deal with the pain later or the frustration later, but it's easier for me to brush off because my parents have raised my brother and I to just be proud of our whole identities. No one else can take that away from me.
And that's powerful, Thomas, for you to hear, because I know that you've said you've struggled with that feeling of Latino enough and identity and people using a litmus test regarding identity. So to see your daughter embrace the full scope of who you and your wife made her to be has to be a moment of pride.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we try not to shy away from these conversations. We talk about it a lot at home. And, you know, for all those parents out there, maybe you think your kids aren't listening to you. Maybe they give you the eye roll, especially as teenagers. And it can be frustrating, but honestly, they are always listening. So please, you know, let them know how you feel, what you think about these issues. Lean into those conversations. Don't try and keep it a secret or a taboo subject. If you act like it's something to be avoided, then they start to feel the shame. They'll start internalizing that. But if you are always open about it, and if you're able to feel comfortable about it and you're willing to listen to what they're feeling, then you're just setting them up for success later on in life.
You know what, Thomas, I obviously agree. My child is mixed race. my husband is Jewish. But I think when we started this show and even this conversation, there were always people say, oh, don't talk about race in daytime. People don't want to see that. And I said, wait a minute. If you take off your mask, I take off mine, and let me be the black Southern woman I am, and you be the white Polish person, or whatever you are, then we can respect each other. I don't want you to hide your identity. I want you to embrace it. Listen, I worked in Chicago for 10 years. One of the things I loved about Chicago were the ethnic neighborhoods. You know, I worked with a guy, Patrick Elwood. Every year, his Irish mother would make me punchkis. I never knew what they were, and I tore them up like they were. Thank you. I was like, yes, because his mother was so proud of her Irish heritage that she poured it into Patrick, who then shared it with his black friend from Texas, and we both benefited by being our true selves. And that's what you've been saying.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we live in Southern California, one of the most ethnic and racially diverse places in the planet. It can be difficult living here with all the traffic and and the high cost of living, but at the same time, I feel the most comfortable in a very diverse environment. I really appreciate the diversity. I think it makes life much more interesting and fun. I wouldn't like it any other way.
I think it's more fun. And I just said Patrick Elwood was Irish. He's Polish. And I know his mother's calling me right now. That's TV. Thank you so much for joining us.